Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go ahead and work on continuing to find our elapsed time. Okay. And again, it's really important that we know how to do this because we want to be able to know how many minutes or hours are between two different times. Like, let's just say if I told my parents I was going to be going to a movie it started at 3 o'clock and it ended at 5:50, they're going to say, okay, how long are you going to be gone for? How long can we plan for you being gone? Then I can say, oh, from 3 o'clock to 5:50, I know that's 2 hours, 50 minutes. That's one of the big important reasons why we do elapsed time. And this is something you can use in real life. So, looking at our sheet, our first elapsed time, we want to figure out from 5 o'clock to 10 o'clock. Now, you might be wondering, well, where's my analog clock at? Today, we're not going to use analog clocks. We're actually going to use blank number lines to help us figure this out. And there is a way we can do this. It's really not that hard, okay? So the first thing we do is we go to the very edge of the number line on the left-hand side right here. And we put in our first time being 5 o'clock. What we have to do is we have to pretend that each of these marks is going to be a specific time interval. When I say time interval, I mean like an hour, a minute, 10 minutes, 50 minutes, however you want to do it. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and put a hump from here to here, and I'm going to say, what makes sense to me, I'm going to go ahead and call this an hour. So I'm going to go ahead and call this 6 o'clock. So go ahead and put in 6 o'clock if you haven't already. Alright, then I'm going to go ahead and go over another hump. This is going to be 7 o'clock. Let's go ahead and go over another hump. 8 o'clock. What do you think this next one's going to be? You said 9 o'clock. You're correct. Then we come over and we come to our finishing time being 10 o'clock. All right. I'm going to go ahead and give you a few seconds to go ahead and put in those times if you don't have them in already. Now, what we can do is we can go ahead and count each of these humps as a time interval. This was 1 hour. That was a second hour, a third hour, a fourth hour, a fifth hour. So think about our time interval is 5 hours. Go ahead and put in 5 hours right there. And let's go ahead and take a look at our next one. From 1 o'clock to 7:30. All right. Again, what we do is we come over to the very edge of our timeline, or number line, and we put our first number, 1 o'clock. Just like before, we're going to go ahead and put a hump. 2. I'm fine if you even put 2, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and I'm going to go ahead and pause it right there for you to catch up. You want to get all the way over here to 7 o'clock. All right, so now, if I keep going and I do another interval, another hour interval, I'm going to come up here to 8 o'clock. But here's the problem. If I go to 8 o'clock, I've already gone over 7:30, and we cannot do that. So we have to stop at 7 o'clock. Let's figure out how many hours we've had so far. We've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours. So far we've had 6 hours, but we're not quite at 7:30 yet. We got to get to that 7:30. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and change these intervals around. We're going to have another hump right there, but we got to think to ourselves, how many minutes is it between 7 o'clock and 7:30? Well, I know that there are actually 30 minutes right there. Okay? 30 minutes between 7 o'clock and 7:30. So now I have 6 hours and 30 minutes. All right, let's go ahead and check the next one out. All right, so now we have 2:30 to 5 o'clock. Just like before, we're going to go ahead and start on the very left-hand side with this first time being 2:30. So we're going to go ahead and do our intervals starting with our hours. So from 2:30, an hour later, it's not going to be 3, but it's going to be 3:30. Think about it. I'm adding 1 hour on there, so I'm just changing my hours right there. These stay the same. So I move it over here to 4:30, from 3:30 to 4:30, that's an hour. But if I keep going, eventually I hit 5:30. And here's the problem right there. If I do 5:30, I've gone over 5 o'clock, so I'm not allowed to do 5:30. So now, let's figure out how many hours I've had so far. 1, 2. So far we've had 2 hours. So now we got to get from 4:30 to 5 o'clock. Now we got to think to ourselves, how many minutes is it between 4:30 and 5 o'clock? Now let's just say we're still struggling with this, okay? And that's okay. We don't have to go half hour on these intervals. Maybe we can do 10 minutes. Let's make these 10 minutes. So let's add 10 minutes on the 4:30. That's going to be 4:40. And again, that's 10 minutes. Let's add another 10 minutes on the 4:30. 4:40, sorry, that's going to be 4:50. Add another 10 minutes on the 4:50, that's going to be 5 o'clock. So now I have 10, 20, 30. I have 2 hours and 30 minutes. Not too bad. Not too bad right there. So let's just say maybe you wanted, instead of doing 10 minutes, maybe you wanted to do 5 minutes. Let's see if we have enough room for 5. I'm not sure we have enough room for 5. Okay. There's 4:35, 4:40, 4:45, 4:50, 4:55, 5 o'clock. These are all 5-minute intervals. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Again, 30 minutes. It really doesn't matter how you do it, just as long as you get 30 minutes. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at our next time. Our next time we have is 3 o'clock to 7:53. This is where it starts to get a little interesting. So first things first, you know what to do. We come over to the left-hand side and we put our 3 o'clock in there. Go ahead and do that if you haven't already. Then what we do is we start counting by intervals. We always want to start with our hours being the biggest. So from 3 o'clock, an hour later would be, what do you think it is? If you said 4 o'clock, you're correct. Let's add another hour on the 4 o'clock. What would that be? 5 o'clock. Add another hour on the 5 o'clock. What's that? 6 o'clock. Add another hour on the 6 o'clock. What do you get? 7 o'clock. All right, so now if we add another hour on the 7 o'clock, we come up to 8 o'clock, and that is already past that, so we're not allowed to do that. So what we're going to do then is we're going to go ahead and look at how many hours. 1, 2, 3, 4 hours. So we have 4 hours so far. 4 hours and how many minutes? Well, from 7 o'clock to 7:53. You can do it a bunch of ways. You can do it by tens. 7:10, 7:20, 7:30, 7:40, 7:50 right there. Now, if we keep on going, if we keep on going, we go to 8 o'clock, and we can't do that because we're not allowed to go past that 7:53. So now, let's count and see how many intervals of tens I have. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So I have 50 minutes, but here's the thing. I still have to get 50 to 53. Well, how many minutes between 50 and 53? Well, let's think about it. 1, 2, 3. 51, 52, 53. So there's 1, 2, 3 minutes. So it's 53 minutes. 4 hours and 53 minutes between those two. All right, we have time just for one more. And that time is 8:30 to 12:25. All right, just like before, we come over here, start with 8:30. Let's go ahead and start doing the hours. 9:30, 10:30, 11:30, 12:30. Uh-oh, went too far. Can't do that, so now we got to count up our hours that we have. All right? We have 1, 2, 3 hours so far. 3 hours. Let's see how many minutes we have. Let's go ahead and count by tens. 11:40. 11:50. Okay, we got 10 on the 11:50. We get 12 o'clock. 12:10. 12:20. Uh-oh. 12:30. We've gone too far. We can't go past that 12:25. So there's that 12:20 right there. So let's count and see how many we have right there. We have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So we have 50 minutes, 3 hours, and 50. But now we got to think ourselves from 20 to 25. Well, I can go ahead and count by fives if I want to. 25 and 55 minutes. So 3 hours, 55 minutes. All right. Thank you so much for keeping along with me. We're gonna get this down, ladies and gentlemen. I know we can. Okay. Let's continue working on this when you're done.